6 days ago, on February 10th, Monday, 2014, I became 80 years old. I can't believe it. And I think, how did it get so late so early? You know, anyway, then 2 months ago, I started thinking about what could I do to celebrate in a unique way. And I got the idea of having myself a birthday party for me and playing a program of piano music, which takes me back to my roots, because most of you know me as a singer and pianist, you know, accompanying myself and accompanying my students and doing, with violinists, I do chamber music and so forth. But originally, I was a pianist, and I started when I was 3 years old to play, to take lessons. And I guess music was in my background right from in utero, because my mother loved classical music. And the first thing she did when she brought me home was turn on the Metropolitan. And we'd listen to these operatic, wonderful operas all that time, from the time I was a baby until I left for Chicago. And probably after that too. But my favorite operatic heroine was Brunhilde of Wagner, the Ring of the Nibelungen, of course, because she was my idol. But anyway, on Sundays then we would listen to the New York Philharmonic. And so music was just, luckily radio had just come in at a couple of years before that the Met was broadcasting these Saturday afternoon things. So it was really lucky that I came along when I did, I guess. Anyway, my mother started to notice that I was very fascinated by piano. And my mother played the piano, and both my parents sang. And when she saw how interested I was, she went to find a teacher. And luckily, or miraculously in a way, there was a lady in the neighborhood where we lived, this little neighborhood in Muskegon called Lakeside, and she was a genius. She taught little children under 5 the piano, and she used games and stories and colors, and I was enchanted. And when she would stop the lesson, I would say, "More lesson." I just didn't want to stop. And as time went on, my mother was told by this lady, who was also a linguist. She taught Japanese and Chinese and even Swahili during the Second World War. So she was a brilliant woman, but very, you know, common, nice person in the neighborhood. Nobody knew that she was that exciting except my mother. But she told my mother to send me to somebody that was more for advanced students. So I went to another teacher at that point and made great progress and became known as a pianist at that time. Came over to the conservatory in Chicago and had a major in piano. I was a piano major. And then I got into singing after that, really, even though I had sung as a little kid. But the piano was my first love. So I thought this would be a way to return to my roots and come full circle. And hopefully I haven't played anything by memory on the piano for 50 years. So I'm what have I done? You know, I mean, I'm going to play 6 things that they're my favorite things from those days. I sure did a lot of piano music, but these 6 were especially fond. I was especially fond of. And loosely, the first 3 are the Baroque and classical element, Bach and Beethoven, and then the second half is going to be the romantic and the more contemporary, which would be Chopin and Robert Palmer. Does anybody know about Robert Palmer? Do you know about him, Pat?
No.
He's an interesting American composer who studied at Eastman, and I think he taught at Cornell for a long time. Anyway, I'll tell you all about it. But anyway, I gotta look at my notes here. Oh yeah, if I should nod off, while I'm playing.
Oh dear.
Just yell my name, and I'll come back, hopefully in the same piece. Now, since this is a birthday party, you may snack when I'm talking and when I nod off, or when I get up to kind of loosen my shoulders or something. You may snack. But when I play, you must be very quiet, because chewing or anything distracts me. And I might wind up in the wrong piece again, you know. Now, in closing, I want to say that I thank you all for coming. This is the greatest gift, you know, that a birthday girl could get, to be surrounded by all of you. So that is, I'm so glad I did it. Now, to borrow one of the most famous lines in vintage radio, return with me to the thrilling days of yesteryear. You know, who said that? Do you know what program it was, everybody?
Lone Ranger.
The Lone Ranger.
Oh.
Only he would say the thrilling days of yesterday, and with the Lone Ranger. I'm just going to say, to those thrilling days of yesterday when I was gobbling up music with both hands. Man, pun intended. Yeah. Okay, now you can pass the stool back to Frank.
Oh.
Just somebody grab it and put, oh,
I
it's
could
gonna
probably
come.
take the stool. You know, I get in front of an audience as much as I can. I'm a nervous wreck, but I still do.
You're a nervous wreck.
Yes. Always.
All right.
Oh, this is much better.
My first piece is a short, charming little piece by C.P.E. Bach. That's Carl Philipp Emanuel, who was one of the sons of Johann Sebastian. And it's a 1 minute, maybe, if that. But it has some of the things that predated Beethoven. Some of the devices that Beethoven used, C.P.E. used. One of them being sudden fortes and sudden pianos rather than gradual. And you'll hear that, and you'll hear it also in the Beethoven thing that I'm going to play. So it's full of 16th notes and modulations. So this is called solfeggetto. And an interesting little story is that when I was a kid, about 10 maybe, I had a friend that had a large family that lived in the neighborhood. And their taste ran to more pop, and they didn't know too much about classical music, but they liked me when I played. They liked it. So I remember them saying, "Peggy, play that solfeggetto." And it was I remember that so well. It was so charming. Anyway, I talk when I'm nervous. I'm going to play Solfeggetto by C.P.E. Bach. Johann Sebastian. Of course, everybody knows that he was just the greatest genius probably that ever lived, and wrote more prodigiously than anybody. And one of the things that he wrote was a thing called the Well-Tempered Clavichord, in which he wrote preludes and fugues in every key of the Western disciplines. And in other words, there was a prelude and fugue in C major, and a prelude and fugue in C minor, and then a prelude and fugue in C sharp major, and so forth, all the way through the circle of fifths. And one of my favorites was the C minor number 2 prelude and fugue. And the prelude is pretty straightforward. It's just, Bach didn't have a lot of coming and going like the Romantics, so it's pretty straight. And then the fugue is, do you know what a fugue is? Everybody that's a musician knows what, but does everybody know what a fugue? I can tell you this, it's a form that has what they call a subject that is a theme that maybe goes for 2 measures, and it's in the key of the piece, and then it comes in again at the 5th, and then again in the alto, and then it goes all the way through all these voices, and so you have to listen for that coming in. Here's the theme of the fugue. Okay, now I'm going to play the Prelude and Fugue in C minor by Johann Sebastian Bach.